Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight in our news. 20 bestowed with national honors, plus armed robbers go on a weekend crime spree. And an Abaco pastor defends government's response to Hurricane Dorian.
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Jared Higgs. Topping news tonight, 20 Bahamians were granted national honors in a ceremony at Government House today. The investor coming on National Heroes Day, with Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis pointing out the bravery of the men and women who were bestowed with the honors.
Courage in the promotion of cultural and national development. Courage in the service of others through political, public, civic, and community service. Courage through chronicling of our history and the preservation of our national treasures, including artifacts and archives.
Among the 20 Bahamians who were honored were Reverend Dr. Philip Ramming, Frank Watson, Tommy Turnquest, Keith Mason, Dr. Elwood Donaldson, Frank Roll, Dr. Gail Saunders, Angela Missouri Sherman Peter, Godfrey Kelly, Edward Dud Maynard, former Senate President Lynn Holowesco, Norwood Ramming, Reverend Dr. Charles Saunders, Bishop Carrington Pinder, Reverend Charles Sweeting, and Reverend Oral Rex Major, Edmund Moxie Sr., Louis George Adams Sr., Timothy Gibson, and Dr. Hervis Bain were all honored posthumously. Golden Girl Shawnee Miloribo, who was not in attendance, was bestowed with the Order of the Lignum Vitae, an honor designated for Bahamians under the age of 25. Minnis added that with the recent passage of Hurricane Dorian, many other Bahamians have become worthy of calling themselves heroes.
There are many other heroes who demonstrate courage during and in the aftermath of the worst hurricane ever to strike the northern Bahamas. On Grand Bahama and Abaco, many citizens saved other people's lives by taking them into their homes, where some survived for days before floodwaters receded. Some Bahamians took to jet skis and small boats to rescue others. Others knocked on the doors to evacuate neighbors, children, the elderly, and the infirm.
Minnis says those Hurricane Dorian survivors are being honored with tribute videos.
Beginning today, through various social media, the Office of the Prime Minister will recognize and recall the examples of a number of these heroes. Their stories exemplify the courage of many other Bahamian heroes. Such service and courage is a powerful demonstration of the best of the Bahamian spirit and the spirit of One Bahamas.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs says comments made by a Bahamian diplomat to a Florida newspaper were taken out of context. The Palm Beach Post reported that Bahamian Consulate General in Miami, Linda Mackey, said that China will not be part of reconstruction following Hurricane Dorian. Well, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs says the newspaper's reporting didn't accurately reflect Mackey's comments, adding that the government has extensively reported on its plans to address the housing challenges in Abaco. The ministry stated that the People's Republic of China, like several other countries, immediately and readily provided assistance in the aftermath of Dorian. It added that the Bahamas continues to enjoy good relations with the United States of America and the People's Republic of China. From the crime beat, police are investigating a hit and run that left a man dead on Sunday night. According to reports, it was shortly after 8 p.m. when a man was walking on Prince Charles Drive in the vicinity of the Wok restaurant when he was struck by a small black Japanese vehicle which sped away. Paramedics were called to the scene and attempted to revive the victim. However, he was pronounced dead on scene. Meanwhile, police having a busy weekend investigating no less than 10 armed robberies. Last night, just after 9 p.m., officers say a man and a woman were at Sisal Road off Malcolm Road when they were approached by two men, one armed with a firearm, who robbed them of a Nissan Note license plate number AP7953 before speeding away. This incident was the 10th armed robbery police reported over the weekend. On Saturday, officers informed the press that there were 4 armed robberies on Friday. Those incidents included a woman who was robbed of her handbag by 2 armed men while walking on Bethel Avenue in Stapleton Gardens. The assailants made good their escape by speeding off in a red rental vehicle. Later on Friday morning, another woman had her purse snatched by an armed man as she walked in the parking lot of an auto parts store on Wolf Road near Village Road. The armed robber escaped in a gray Nissan Cube. On Friday night, police also say a woman was robbed of her handbag while standing in front of a home in the Western District of New Providence. Early Saturday morning at around 1 a.m., a man was robbed of his blue BMW Jeep while standing in the parking lot of a bar on Bernard Road. The assailant in the Jeep was followed by a pink Nissan March as it fled the scene. Fast forward to Saturday afternoon, and 2 tourists reported that they were robbed of cash and other items while in the vicinity of Goodman's Bay. The suspects in that incident got into a purple car with license plate number AR1737 before speeding away. At 11:40 on Saturday night, a man and a woman were robbed of cash and cell phones by an armed man who ran off. They were in the vicinity of Delaport Beach. A little over an hour later, a man was driving in the area of Big Pond when a red Volkswagen pulled in front of him, forcing him to stop. 3 men came from the vehicle, armed with firearms, and robbed him of cash and a cell phone before getting back into the vehicle and speeding away. About an hour later, a man was reportedly driving in Winton Meadows when a navy blue vehicle pulled in front of him, forcing him to stop. A man exited the vehicle and robbed him of cash and other items before speeding away. In the last reported incident on Sunday, a man was in a church parking lot on Duke Street at around 1 p.m. when he was approached by a man with a firearm who robbed him of a bag containing an undisclosed amount of cash before making good his escape. Meanwhile, police on the island of New Providence are investigating a shooting incident that took place on Sunday and left 2 males detained in hospital. According to a report, shortly before 9 a.m., 2 men were standing outside a home on Ida Street when the occupants of a pink Nissan March license plate number AT1658 opened fire in their direction, hitting both of them before speeding away. Both men were transported to hospital and are now listed in serious condition. On Friday, police were also investigating a shooting incident which left 1 man with non-life-threatening injuries. According to a report, shortly before 5 p.m., a man was walking on Verbena Street off Rosedale Street when the occupants of a pink Nissan March opened fire in his direction, hitting him to his leg before speeding away. The injured man was transported to hospital and is listed in stable condition. Moving on now, a financial advisor is recommending that the government clearly articulate its post-Dorian fiscal plan. Giorgio Bain has the details.
It is critical that the government clearly articulates how it intends to manage the negative impact that Hurricane Dorian will have on the country's fiscal affairs over the next several years, according to Garwin Bowe, Chief Financial Officer of Fidelity Bank. Bowe suggested that the government slow down and do a proper analysis.
I know it's difficult for particularly persons who are affected and the general populace to appreciate the words less haste, more speed, meaning that we do have to slow down and ensure that we're doing a proper analysis and assessment. And that's not to say inaction. And that is to say that we do things in a very thought out and strategic manner. And when we look at the damage, we often start thinking of it in what I'm going to call the emotional state of saying, oh my, look at all that we have to do. We need to be breaking down the reconstruction effort, if you will, into its constituent parts.
Bowe's first suggestion is that the government clearly set out the numbers. He suggested how the government should divide the analysis.
Some of it is covered by insurance, whether it be the elements that the government is covered by insurance, whether it be that element that is covered by the private sector in insurance, businesses, homes, etc. Secondly, you have persons that have capital, meaning individuals that have savings, that are business owners or homeowners, and they have the financial means to restore. Then you have those elements that, if you will, are government infrastructure, which is not to be looked at as a part of the hurricane relief, because in New Providence, where it was not impacted, we want to see infrastructure development and improvement, and so there had to be budget allocation for reconstruction or redevelopment, even in islands that have not been impacted by a hurricane.
Boe also offered suggestions on how to accomplish the goals in the least disruptive manner.
So when we look at the Bahamas, I think it requires a little bit of pause. And what that requires is, whilst everyone is excited, everyone is anxious, everyone is waiting to see what is happening, it has to be that we are taking a full assessment, allocating the responsibilities to the various components, and then saying, what is the bill? Once we've identified that, it is then determining how do we address that in a manner that is least disruptive. It's going to be disruptive, so we don't have to deny or argue that, but how do we do so in a manner that's least disruptive?
Reporting for our News Holiday Edition, I'm Georgia Bain.
An advocate for at-risk youth tells us what motivates her. That's coming up when our news returns.